Hello, I'm Alexandra Sleator, Career Accelerator, and that means that I help ambitious, gifted, high-performing professionals accelerate their career to the next stage so that they do more interesting work, that they are not stuck in one job, that they get the chance to lead others, the opportunity to add more value, and of course to grow their income. So welcome to this new series this month, and for those of you who follow my work, you may recall that I had thought I might discuss with you this month how we make decisions and how we can make those tough decisions a bit easier. But I've got several requests to instead discuss how to influence others, how to get our points of view across, how to ensure that people adhere to our ideas, that they agree to our recommendations. So this is what we'll be doing this month instead, and it's pretty exciting because really influencing is at the core of a successful career, whatever the word career may mean to you. So 3 videos on that very important topic of influencing. In the first one today we'll look at what happens when we fail to influence, the downside of not being able to influence and persuade others effectively. But because I don't like having just a video on the bad side of things, then at the end I'll have for you my recipe for successful influencing. So I hope that this is going to perk things up at the end of this video. In the second video in a few days, I'll take you through my persuasion strategy. 4 steps to prepare and to make sure that you are in a position to influence others effectively going forward. Again, those of you who are familiar with my work know that I like to work with processes, models, things that you can pragmatically apply, things that you can remember once you're out there in the real world, so this will be another one of them. And finally, a few days later again, in the third and final video, I will take 2 elements of that persuasion strategy, because there will be a bit of a theoretical part, and I will show you, why it's important to apply the model, how it can make a difference really between getting it right and otherwise, well, frankly, botching it. So at the end of this month series, what I will hope is that you will have gotten out of it is the principle, the fundamental concept around sound influencing with the so-called recipe, a strategy for persuasion in the form of a 4-step model, and 2 techniques taken right out of this model that you can implement immediately in the real world and road test to see if they work for you, if they make a difference in your life. Okay, so without further ado, let's talk about why it's important to influence, what happens when we don't succeed in influencing. Well, in my opinion, the reason why we fail to influence is because we prepare our memos, our remarks, our proposals, our slides in a way that suits ourselves rather than our audience. And this is why we get it wrong. So let me give you a few situations to think about to understand why I'm saying that. Why I think that when we fail to influence is because we talk to ourselves really rather than to our target audience. So a little bit off the wall example. Think about talking to a dog. Maybe you own a dog. And imagine it's in the morning, you're in the kitchen, you're preparing your coffee, and you like to talk to your dog. So you say to your dog, "Good morning, Rocket. How are you today?" And what does the dog hear? "Blah, blah, blah, Rocket. Blah, 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 blah." That's right, he's a dog, he doesn't understand human language, and you haven't yet learned how to bark. So the dog recognizes at best 1 word, his or her name, because after all you trained your dog correctly. So this is a bit of a bizarre example possibly, but I want you to trust that there is a relevance to what I'm going to say later on. Because indeed, when we fail to influence, we are talking in a language that our audience does not understand. So they may get a few words here and there, but otherwise it sounds very much like blah blah blah. Another way to look at it, would you agree that when we want to influence others, when we try to persuade them of our ideas, it's a little bit like selling, right? Because after all, we're trying to sell our viewpoints, we're trying to get them to buy into our ideas. So what works well for you when you're being sold to? Imagine you're in a sports equipment shop and the salesperson just jumps on you a little bit and tells you about the great benefits of these pair of running shoes, which has been selling like, you know, cupcakes, and which on top of it they have a reduction on, you know, they're on sale, so this is like the best deal for this very great pair of shoes. But the thing is, you don't want running shoes, you want tennis shoes. So as the salesperson is talking to you, you feel yourself getting a little bit irritated because they're not talking about what you need. And so what's likely to happen? Are you likely to make a purchase? I personally would guess not. So instead, what would have worked better? What about if the salesperson then would welcome you into the shop and asked you what you wanted, and you had explained that you wanted tennis shoes, not running shoes, not football shoes, or whatever else kind of sports shoes. And then the salesperson engaged you in a conversation around the way that you play tennis. You know, do you play on clay, or do you play on quick, or do you play on grass? You know, and what kind of, you know, how hard are you going to use those shoes? So that in the end they would come up with a few pairs that would seem to be, you know, in line with what you need, and then you could choose among those pairs. Would that be more likely to work as a sales strategy? Would you be more likely to make a purchase then? Because you would have felt understood, that the person was trying to cater to your needs. So indeed, when we want to sell our ideas to people, when we want to influence them, it's a little bit like a sale, and we have the choice. In, you know, I'm gonna use things along the spectrum of doing a hard sell, or to do a much softer, subtle kind of sell. A last way that I'm gonna suggest we look at influencing and what happens when we don't get it right. Let's bring it into the workplace. So let's make it much more tangible, right? We went from the far out with talking to your dog, and then the sports example that seems more like, you know, a weekend on the high street. And now let's bring it into the workplace. So you wrote this presentation, and you're fired up. You found all sorts of hard data that absolutely back your conclusions. And so you've psyched yourself up. You're very motivated, very enthusiastic, because you're going to be in front of 4 senior managers that you need to get on board, so that your recommendation can lead the way to maybe a project or something new that's going to fix things in your firm and make new things possible as well. So here you are, and you're delivering your presentation and you feel comfortable, but lo and behold, instead of your enthusiasm communicating itself, you start noticing that one guy is talking to his neighbor. And then there's this lady, she's checking her emails on her BlackBerry. What's going on here? You have one person who is listening to you, and you can tell by their body language that they're really engaged, that they like what you say. But it's only one person, and the other 3 are out there doing God knows what. They're not paying attention, and yet you need, maybe not all, but at least most of them on board in order to take your idea to the next stage. So there it is. You know, your proposal, is it in the can? Is it game over? So what happened there? Well, when you start seeing people not listening, it's the first stage of failing to influence. That's disengagement. So it's people that are not connecting to your idea. Another reason why you could have disengagement is because, in fact, inside, the people have objections. And while they haven't voiced them yet, you're seeing the manifestation of these objections in their body language, so it becomes physical objections, if you will. So that is what is usually going on with the disengagement stage when we fail to persuade people. They don't listen, or they start having objections, and so when you pause, you're going to get a lot of questions or comments, all with a negative slant, and all really implying, we don't get your idea, we don't think it's worth it, we see only problems with your ideas, it's never going to work out. And so again, they're going to kill it. First they kill it with the body language, and then they kill it with the words. So that's the disengagement then turns into resistance, right? Because people, again, voice only objections, they ask questions which are not meant to clarify, to give you the chance to explain further, rather to close the matter, to really nail you to the cross, really, and kill off your idea. So that's the second element of a failed influence strategy: resistance. Wow. Now, does that sound at all familiar? Have you been in situations where you yourself disengaged? Where you yourself were resistant? Like in the shop with the salesperson who was being a little bit too pushy about the running shoes. Or have you experienced receiving disengagement from others even though you thought you had it so well prepared? And also objectively, your ideas, your proposal, they're in the best interest of the person or in the best interest in the work context of the firm. And so despite that firm grounding, it's not going through. Okay? So again, this is why I say that the reason is that you're not speaking to your audience in the language that they need to hear. Right? It's not just about the message, it's about the delivery of the message, how the messaging is constructed. And that's what we're going to look at next week in that persuasion strategy that I'm going to share with you. So when you don't talk to your audience in the language that they need in order to become receptive, you're effectively talking to your dog, right? They're hearing blah, blah, blah. And that's why you experience disengagement and resistance. So, I promised that we would end this video on a high note, so here it goes. The recipe for successful influencing. 2 ingredients only, so let's keep it simple. First ingredient, find out what people want. Second ingredient, give it to them. That's it. There's nothing more to it. Now, as you know, the devil is in the detail. So next time we'll decode that recipe, okay? We'll look at what it means to find out what people want, and then also what it means to give it to them. So I'll leave you now to ponder this recipe. And I want to remind you that as every month I have a free session on offer. So for whoever might be interested in looking at this recipe and making it happen for themselves in the real world, you have something that you're working on, a conversation with a senior person that you're preparing for, and you want to make sure that you find out what they want and that you give it to them and that you're successful at persuading them, whatever is your agenda. So the session, the free session, absolutely no fine print, no obligation, is available on a first come, first served basis. Do email me to grab it, and I'll be delighted to tell you more about the recipe and of course to walk you through in detail my persuasion strategy. So until then, think about what we've just discussed and how that may resonate with your workplace experience, or for that matter experiences in your personal life, and see what finding out what people want and giving it to them can mean for you, and start thinking also about how you can overcome disengagement and get rid of the resistance that you've had in some of your influencing situations that didn't work so well. So I look forward to seeing you very soon, and until then, take good care. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.